Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Everything hangs on my next step, finding my nerve, playing my part. I found shelter underneath his crown, found favor inside his eyes. Rock this boat and I just might drown. Honesty seems to come with the price.
I like that song, Mr. Anderson.
There's a time to hold your tongue, time to keep your head down. There's a time, but it's not now.
Sometimes you got to go where you're uninvited. Speaking of invited, is everybody out there ready for Thanksgiving? And the
What
political discussions we're going to have on Thanksgiving?
How did that happen?
What, Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that every
It
year.
snuck up on me.
Yeah, every year we have that. It's generally at the same time, too.
Somewhere in November.
So are you ready for it?
Oh, well, I'm not cooking this year, so yeah. I'm just eating.
If you want to call in 614-423-4220. Actually, we'd really like to have a lot of you folks call in today because we have an important issue to discuss this morning, and that's the Roy Moore issue. And it's you off? Okay. And it's the wow. I think it's an opportunity for America, to be honest with you. What I'm trying to say is I want to make some lemonade from what would appears to be a lemon in Roy Moore. Before we get to that, Cliven Bundy, his eldest son, was released to a halfway house. You know the Bundys are, right? He was released to a halfway house. This comes from the 214 armed standoff against government agents in public lands, grassing dispute. Chief U.S. District Judge Gloria Navarro granted Ryan Bundy's release ahead of the court openings. This has been going on. In January, it'll be for 2 years. In prison for 2 years. I can hear you breathing, Mr. Anderson. You have to?
I have to breathe.
Yeah. It's just so sad that, well, I don't call this justice. I don't call what happened to Kent Hovind justice. I don't call what happens to a lot of the natural parents in our court systems justice. I don't call what's happening to babies in the womb justice. Wow. We're going to talk about morality or amorality in the USA probably during the second half of the program today, and it ties into what's going on with Judge Roy Moore. Incredible. Impeach Donald Trump. Yep. The motion is on the floor of the House. Well, I mean, come on. This is all about the House of Representatives election and some senators elections that are coming up in about a year. This is politicking. This is about keeping your eye focused on the fact that Donald Trump is not a good man. The Republican Party are the party of the rich. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. We want the government, there's a group of people that want the government to keep more of their money, and governments consume wealth. And there's a group of people that are what you call capitalists that want the corporations, the sole proprietors, the businessmen to maintain that money and create wealth is what they do with the money, by the way. They create wealth. So you have a choice. When you hear all the bantering around in Congress from a New York senator or for a senator from or a representative from California about helping the rich. The rich are helping us, folks. If I really thought that the rich were just counting their money to make sure that they have one more dollar today than they did yesterday, there wouldn't be enough warehouses. There aren't enough warehouses in the United States to hold that money. So I think an enterprising entrepreneur would open up a business, a warehouse business, where he can store that money for all these rich, greedy Republican capitalists. Wow. Hillary investigation, Uranium Gate. I've got a lot of friends that think that Hillary is going to get indicted and Hillary's going to go to jail. That's not going to happen, folks.
I don't see it happening.
Now, the American public doesn't have any kind of an appetite at all for justice. Evidenced by the killing of, 4,000 babies a day, gay marriage, and how they treat people, conservatives. It's pretty scary. I just don't think it's going to happen. Taxes? Oh, goody, goody. It looks like the House has passed some sort of a tax bill with heaving emphasis on business concerns. Oh, BJ, would you have a problem with that? No, I don't. I don't have a problem with giving businesses more money. But I think that any tax bill, actually any bill in Congress that we're considering, should ultimately look at its effect on the natural family, which is the core, the foundation of any society. Not just America, but all past societies. And I've told you before, and I'll keep telling you again. Rome, Greece, Babylon, all the nations, the great nations, fell because they failed to keep the structure of the family together and to recognize its importance. And by structure, I mean man, woman, children in a vertical relationship. In this day and age, I suppose I could be accused of harassment because I'm putting men before women. But again, like I said before, I'd love to give women the responsibility and let me have the influence. It would work a lot better for me. I'd have less problems. But it doesn't work that way. I, the man, in the family, have the responsibility to be the family's leader. And if you look around at American families today, you don't see a whole lot of that. If you look around America's churches today, you don't see a whole lot of that. And the businesses are changing. My favorite morning program, Three Witches and a Warlock, CBS Morning News, at least once a week, if not more so, push the idea that women need to be more here and more there. Women need to be more influencing their children under the leadership of a father. We've just lost that concept. And as a result, we have anarchy in the streets of America. We have an amoral society. As goes the family, so goes the church. And as goes the church, so goes the nation. As goes the family, so goes the business. As goes the family, so goes the news media. As goes the family, so goes all the areas of influence, or at least it's supposed to be that way. But it's just not happening that way anymore. The arrows are pointing from the businesses, from the government, from the educational institutions towards the family, affecting the family. And it should be just the opposite. The arrow should be pointing towards the governments. Again, it's our choice to make. And you know, as the natural family leader, that we're gonna have to say that, because that's exactly what's going on. So back to the tax bill. Am I digressing, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, taxes. Yeah. You got a bunch of unholy men trying to tell us
what to do with our
what to do with our money and how good they're going to be to us, with how they're going to change things.
Money, and keep this in mind, money is the power to make decisions. And this isn't about keeping more of that paper. It's about keeping more of that power. And they like to concentrate and focus on it. And the Republican Party wants to take all the power away from the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party wants to take all the power away from the Republican Party. And then there's individuals within the power that are trying to soak up all the power that's available. Yeah, the Clintons is a great example. That's a good idea. Good idea. 614-423-4220. Love to talk to you. Again, it looks like the House is going to pass some sort of a tax bill with heaving emphasis on business concerns. And again, what I see, little focus on the family. We will have to see how that all works out. But I'm already on record as saying it just isn't going to happen. Oh, there might be a bill that on balance is going to give some relief to the middle class. You and I. If Paul Ryan and eventually Mitch McConnell like it, I'm not interested.
Well, they're not good indicators.
It's time to drain the swamp. And Roy Moore is absolutely correct. We need to ditch Mitch.
Get him out of the swamp.
Yeah, and Raz Ryan. And I don't know what you do with John McCain. Whew. Or Lindsey Graham. The list goes on. Take a look at the people that are against Roy Moore.
Can you just ignore these people and they go away?
No, well, we have been ignoring him, and what's happened?
Well, we have, but somebody's quoting them and putting them on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah. Take a look at the representatives, your representatives. Ask them, how do they feel about Donald Trump? And by the way, have you contacted your congressman this week or senator? Are you on a first-name basis with him? Are you an agitator?
I like to think I am.
Well, I tell you, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of talk about the Clinton dynasty ending, not just from Hillary. It's we've got a party that gave us Ted Kennedy, among others, and they're going to get rid of their role models. I don't think so, folks.
That swamp has got some deep, deep water.
Yeah, it does. It does. Another multiple killing last week.
California?
Yep. It wasn't in the church this time. It was in the streets. The neighbors. And once again, complete strangers. Gone. Poof. Or bang. Their lives cut short. And we still don't know what happened in Las Vegas. That's really, really curious. Really, really curious. But we really just don't know what happened. What's true? What's the police telling us? What does the news media tell us? Propaganda. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking about...
Break already?
Yep. We're going to be talking about a citizen, a statesman, who is under siege by humanists, secular humanists. 614-423-4220, B.J. Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, your last call, WTVOradio.com.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with B.J. Edwards on WTVOradio.com.
I feel kind of out of place today, Mr. Anderson. I don't have any kind of a costume on. Last week I had my military digs on. The week before that, I think I had a scarf and a gun with me. I don't know what would I wear today?
Turkey feathers.
Ooh, that's true. Because of Thanksgiving, you're right.
Of course,
you're right.
I would like to see some of our politicians wearing some turkey feathers with some tar under it.
Some tar and feathers. I'll throw in free cans of tar. Here's our address. Just give us a call. I have a confession to make. I evidently was wrong.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
I told you that Roy Moore, once elected as senator, and I still firmly believe that he will be, God's will notwithstanding, would be the most hated man in Washington, D.C. That's what I told you. Well, I was wrong. Well, at least half wrong. He's not even in Washington, D.C., and he now is officially the most hated man in Washington, D.C. Think about that. He's not even there yet, and he's having an effect. I can't wait till he gets in there. I mean, this is going to be good. Folks in Alabama, just for the entertainment purposes, vote Judge Roy in. Get at those deep staters. Watch them squirm. Especially one Mitch, is it McConnell, O'Donnell? Ditch Mitch? Listen to all the talk. Listen to this. Governor of Alabama would cancel the election. Talking about canceling the election. She's since actually come out in support of Donald Trump, but this is when the iron was hot. Senators would not allow Roy to be seated if elected, usurping the will of the residents of the state of Alabama. Roy Moore has unproven accusations that he rightfully denies, and Al Franken admits to his issues. Let me stop here for a moment. I don't care for Al Franken at all. I mean, not even a teeny little bit. I don't care for the man at all. Senator or pre-senator. I just don't care for him. I might pray for him, but I don't care for him. What he's being accused of, which is so bad, is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Have you ever snuck a kiss? Huh? Have you ever snuck a kiss? Junior high, high school? Huh? Or have you ever, well, I don't know whether I can say this on radio, but it's C and then F with an A in between it. Guys will understand what that means. Come on. Or even pretended to do that. To pretended to touch a lady in an inappropriate place. I have friends that would make the statement, if you haven't tried, then you're not a man. Well, that's just guys. That's why we have all the problems with guys. It's a man's world. Yeah, really. Really. With women having influence. Think about that. So I'm not at all upset about Al Franken. I wish he wasn't a senator, and I could make the statement, go on and do your business, Al, but I wish he would leave, but under correct circumstances. And that is that he is incompetent. So you can get rid of him for that reason, as far as I'm concerned. But I digress. Franken, fellow senators say that they will convene a meeting to determine his guilt. By the way, I don't think there's ever been a meeting where they've gotten rid of a senator or a congressman as a result of these meetings to determine if he's guilt. I mean, this guy has confessed, and they're going to have a meeting to determine his guilt. Yet, without confession of proof, and merely based on accusations of former Democratic Party members, activists, workers, aides, we assume Roy Moore to be guilty. Think about the insanity of that. I don't know about you, but I certainly would blush if my past were to be on display from junior high on. Trust me. I often kid about Paul being the chief of sinners. And guess who finished in second place? And I was working hard to be at number one. And Sean Hannity. Wow.
What's up with him now?
He jumped the gun on his ultimatum he issued to Judge Roy Moore. It certainly looks like there's a bit of a plot unfolding to frame Roy Moore in the media for something there's absolutely, again, no evidence of. And we may talk a little bit about the evidence, quote-unquote evidence, today. These tactics sound familiar to anyone who watched the presidential campaign, by the way. The Bible talks about casting stones. There's a lot of talk about the Senate candidate from Alabama, Judge Roy Moore, who's been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior with minors 30 years ago. Current Senator Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Ditch Mitch, and John McCain, as well as House Majority Leader Paul Ryan, and even my governor of Ohio, John Kasich, are calling for him to drop out of the race. You know, that kind of got me to wondering. Yeah. How would all those calling for Judge Roy Moore's resignation stand up themselves under the same scrutiny and standards? My guess, we'd have a lot fewer members of Congress and less governors if equal vetting were demanded of our elite politicians as it is for former Alabama Supreme Court Judge Roy Moore. Where's righteousness? Where's righteousness in our government? Do you understand what kind of a moral abyss we're in right now? There's a, and this isn't the first one, there's a young lady from California that just sold her virginity for $1.8 million. And it's okay because, that's right, it's okay because it's her body. Yeah, it's her body. Well, she can do anything with her body she wants to. And we're condemning Roy Moore? How can we possibly condemn anyone? With what we like, gay marriage? Really? We're abusing children in our educational institutions, telling them that they really don't know what sex they are, regardless of what equipment they're carrying around with them. And by the way, if you really think you're not what you were born, go ahead and have that changed. And then when they get it changed years later, the regrets mount and another suicide is completed. And the teachers go along getting paid and no one says a word. If that's not child abuse, I don't know what is. Here's another example. I mentioned Ohio governors. Bill O'Neill is running for governor in the state of Ohio and recently bragged on Facebook page about his sexual prowess.
That was disgusting.
Noting his relationship with over 50 women. And that's okay. Let's talk about the real issues. I'm quoting him. Let's talk about the real issues. Like the legalization of marijuana. That is what this nation needs, isn't it? Another inebriate? Really? Don't you think so? That is now proven to cause other very dangerous symptoms, diseases. We have no idea the damage that can be done. I mean, I understand Mr. Anderson's here, and he's an ex-hippie, and he might be a good example, a poster boy. I'm just kidding, Mr. Anderson. He's a good man. He's a good man. But do we really need another inebriate? And the problem in America has a moral problem. Let's just put it that way. We don't have a money problem. We don't have a marijuana problem. We've got a moral problem. I can remember when right was wrong, and today it seems like wrong is right, if there is such a thing as an absolute.
It's my body.
Yep.
And I'll do what I want to.
So what I want us to do is take a step back. I've been mentioning a lot of issues, a lot of what I'll call problems, or maybe they're symptoms. And I'm not here to feed your fear porn. I've got to mention these issues so I can go to the next step.
Well, those are real issues.
They are issues, but they're also something else. Every issue, every problem, be it in your home, in the government, in your business. Well, there's two sides. There's two sides to a problem. There's the problem side, and if you flip it over, there's the opportunity side. Problems are indicators. Like pain is an indicator, problems are indicators. And if we take the problem and use it as a standard or model of what we don't want to happen, then it's an opportunity for us to cure that cancer. The cancer that is caused basically by our discarding any morals in favor of man's opinion. And you know the nature of man, don't you? That's right. You don't have to teach children to be bad, do you? They just do it naturally.
They start out pretty quick, don't they?
They do. They start out real quick. Real quick.
I never trained my kids to lie. They picked it up somewhere.
And again, I cannot express enough my appreciation for my wife, number one, but my children as well. They have taught me so much. And there were problems. Yeah, there were problems. There's always problems. But they're problems they're real close to you. These problems become personal. Something that you get emotional about. You're not an android. You dive into them. Those are serious problems. To you. And they make you learn. They force you to resolve the issue. You can't turn around and walk away from them. You got to resolve those issues. And children are great, great trainers. They really are. My goodness. I thought I knew it all until I had children. And then I recognized, well, and I also read the Bible too, so that helped. But using those two instruments, children and the Bible, have really helped me in terms of my maturity. And I've just scratched the surface. And I've come a long way. Like I said, I don't want anybody going back in my past. Because I hurt an awful lot of people. Because I was taking care of just me. And I was in pain. And subconsciously, I think I wanted everybody else to be in pain as well. Didn't do it on purpose. Didn't mean to. But it doesn't make any difference. It still happened.
Misery loves company.
Apparently. So, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about problems and opportunities. And Roy Moore, 614-423-4220. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson.
You kept the secret of your youth. You led me to believe you're old enough to give me love. And now it hurts to know the truth. Oh, young girl, get out of my mind. My love for you is way out of line. Better run.
That didn't work very well.
You're much too young.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life on WTVOradio.com.
And we are back. We are back. There's just so much going on in America today. It's really sad what happened in that church in Texas a couple of weeks ago. And then what happened last week out west.
Welcome the people to our chat room. It looks pretty busy this morning. I'm glad of that.
Yeah, got any comments that we need to be looking at?
Oh, I read one earlier. Flo said that if she complained every time a man said something inappropriate to her, she'd be in court all the time.
Well, that's I mean, in terms of our relationship with women, men's relationship with women's, be it at school, be it in the workplace. I mean, if I'm out there now, can you look a woman? I mean, if I'm talking to a woman, my eyes are going to be up here, up in the air, or they're going to be out to the side, the right side. They're going to be out to the left side. I'm certainly not going to look down. Are you kidding me? Talk about big trouble. Look down once, and you lose your job. This is so sad. And marriage, if it's still around a decade or two from now, what's that going to look like? What's that structure going to look like? Are we going to be flipped upside down? Is that not the intent? Look at it in the Garden of Eden. Satan went right at it. Went right at Eve. Hey, come on over here. I want to show you something. Wouldn't you like... Bingo. Game, set, and match.
You surely won't die.
Yeah. And nothing bad will happen to you. We can flip the family upside down. Nothing bad's going to happen to that family. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. We'll tell that to Rome. Pretty crazy stuff. You got anything up here, Mr. Anderson?
Well, here's my list. What would you like?
Yeah, I gave you something this week. A couple. What
Yeah.
are the two I gave you?
Here's the tax thing.
Yeah, let's do the tax thing. Let's do the tax thing. If you would, please. And...
Well, we should play.
This has been, I mean,
There it is.
it's one of those.
This is
it's
about
like finding
taxes.
out that there was gambling going on in Casablanca.
This is for Don.
The environment on Capitol Hill, particularly when I was younger in the 90s and the aughts, it was sort of well known that environment existed. And I only say that because you have said you know of 2 members of Congress. What do you believe is your responsibility in going public with that information? And why don't you believe it's your responsibility?
Well, it was my responsibility to address the seriousness of this issue. These survivors are subject to a non-disclosure agreement. I'm not going to violate their non-disclosure agreement. And I think moving forward, we've got to take steps to make sure that there is transparency, that, in fact, the harasser is not going to have the settlement paid for out of the U.S. Treasury and have all the taxpayers paying for it. It should be something that is paid for by the individual.
So what you're saying now is that you know of 2 individuals who have paid out sexual harassment settlements. So taxpayer money has been used to protect the identity of these members of Congress?
Your tax
One member
money.
of Congress has settled a claim.
Notice the
and,
hesitation.
There has been a taxpayer settlement.
Is this something that, if the taxpayer's involved, don't we have the right to know?
Well, I think you do have the right to know. But right now, under the system, you don't have a right to know.
Mm-hmm. Is this something you think you will retroactively deal with?
I don't know that we can retroactively deal with it because that's a contract that's been signed by both parties. I think moving forward, we absolutely must. Now, we do know that there's about $15 million that has been paid out by the House on behalf of harassers in the last
$15 million.
15 years.
$15 million.
$1 million a year.
Has been paid out over sexual harassment claims, so obviously more than one member of Congress. Do you know how many over time that is? I know that some of them are former members now.
I don't really
Hedging.
know how many members
Okay,
that
come on,
entails.
come on.
Is this some information?
You
that's
understand
gonna
why
get
things are happening
disclosed
they
now
are,
over
don't you?
time? I mean, again, considering this is taxpayer money, it feels as if it should, I assume, if you put it to a vote of the House, is this something that you think should be retroactively done? Let me ask it that way.
I think that we've got to, represent that moving forward this is going to be done. You can't, I think, tinker with pre-existing contracts that have been signed off by both parties. So I think moving forward, it absolutely should be a
Pre-existing
component.
contracts?
We need to have it accountable and transparent.
Let me ask you this, and I know you weren't a member
And she's
of
not
Congress.
giving him any answers. No answers at all. It's got to be transparent, right? But she's giving out no answers at all. I play that to let you know about the moral environment that we're living in here in the United States of America. And by the way, we're expecting our government to lead us down the moral path. And they are. Oh, are they ever. Whew. Okay, problems, opportunities. Roy Moore is a gift from heaven in more ways than one. And more importantly, he represents an opportunity. I've told you all how I learned early on in my life, because of a dreadful family life, that behind every rainbow, there's a cloud. It wasn't till years later in my life that I learned to turn these problems into opportunities to learn and grow. And that was a big turning point in my life. And it's what I'm going to recommend to us to do today. And that's take those problems, take those fears that you have, stop getting involved with fear porn and do something about it. Help America, help your children, help your grandchildren. I want you to see those problems as opportunities and help change your environment for good as versus making things worse. Sometimes it's almost like I start reading things and people want to say, well, if you think that's bad, what about this? And then we try to outdo each other. We try to reinvent things instead of trying to resolve them. We have limited time when we have limited resources, folks. We don't have time to be doing this. Yeah, we want to note the problem, but then we want to have a solution. And again, if I bring up a problem, I got to have a solution for it. I believe the same thing applies when we approach the Roy Moore opportunity. And I said opportunity. I could have said problem, but I really want you all to look at it as an opportunity, a golden opportunity. And what a better man. I don't know of a better man that could do this. Things aren't going very well in America today, and I'll admit that. Amen?
Amen.
Why? Because we have lots of problems, right? No, you're not listening. A lot of what? Opportunities. Right? And no, I'm not petitioning for more problems because, first of all, we've not taken the current opportunities we have, and we're not handling the ones that we've been given previously. Think about this. We abort approximately 1/3 of the children that are conceived in America. 1/3. That's a human resource, by the way. Yeah, we're finding it out through immigration, aren't we? Which means a child has a 33 1/3 chance of being murdered before it's ever born. Then, those that win the birth lottery are usually thrust into indoctrination centers where many times that surviving child wishes they were dead. And in too many cases, actually take their own advice and lives. And sadly, in many cases, the lives of others who won the initial lottery. Keep this in mind. Our public schools teach for 12 years that you have evolved, that you are no more than a cosmic accident, which means our children learn that life just doesn't have any meaning. It just happened. No rules, no regs. It just happened. These children, many of whom are adults, now find themselves in a world where right and wrong have been inverted and or have been erased in the name of diversity and multiculturalism. In the 60s, it was, I'm okay, you're okay. Today, it's choose a gender or a variation thereof. That's okay. Oh, you may be physically miserable as a result of it, but that's okay too. You're a victim. Everybody's a victim, right? Besides, it's your body, and you can do with it what you want, right? We live in a free country. Excuse me. That can't be right because there are no rights or wrongs, correct? And there are no absolutes. In addition to that, there's expectancy on the part of the populace today that we Americans don't need to worry about our basic needs and livelihood. Well, at least for those of you who don't decide to live. By the way, and I was thinking about this is sad. I probably know, off the top of my head, of 5 people, friends, close associates, that have committed suicide in my lifetime. I can't imagine what kind of pain, what kind of confusion, what kind of hate, what kind of fear would go that far to climb inside your mind and tell you, Satan, yes, Satan does discourage. He does confuse you. So yeah, it can happen. You might need some help. Some spiritual help.
Some people choose not the direct suicide, but they take the slow one too, with drugs and alcohol and self-destruction and with self-destructive behaviors.
Masochism. Yeah. This is America. Supposedly the land of the free, the home of the brave. The country that non-citizens, at the risk of their lives and limb, try to get into. Yet, all we hear about is problems.
Sorry.
There are businesses that exist just because of those problems. There are businesses that exist just because of those problems. Collectively, they are called the news media. Billion-dollar industry. If you're a liberal, the problem is with conservatives. Christians versus secular humanists. We've confused citizens when it comes to what their true sex is, with the number of sexual preferences growing daily. Children no longer look up to their parents. They have themselves, you see. They are totally self-reliant. Well, almost. There is that big brother that they depend on so much. Black versus white. And most recently, men versus women. And brother, do I ever mean men versus women? Satan is a great divider. He divided man from God in the Garden of Eden by dividing Eve from Adam. And the list goes on. It's gotten to the point where a man cannot even look at a woman square in the eye, like I said earlier. When we come back from the break, what if Roy Moore is guilty? What is the best thing for society to do? 614-423-4220. I'd love to hear from you. Or maybe you just don't care. Maybe I should stop broadcasting. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call. WNFFradio.com.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with B.J. Edwards.
was recently a lady came out, one of 7 or 8. This is a pretty serious accusation, talking about Roy Moore taking her behind a restaurant and trying to work her over. I think she was 16 years old at the time. I'm not sure. She was a waitress, so I'm guessing she'd have to have been at least 16. She claims that in a yearbook, Roy Moore signed his name and that he knew her. Yet, on cursory examination of that yearbook, there seems to be some problems. It may be that a lot of this information was forged.
Well, that's kind of interesting. First of all, who signs a yearbook in December? And there has been some evidence that Roy Moore signed a divorce, I don't know what you call the official document, decree, and that they kind of look similar.
The signatures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not just the signatures, but the two match up. The decree from 1991 and the one in the yearbook.
Mm-hmm.
Not the signature itself, but you know what I mean, the format of it.
Yeah. Well, it's my understanding that the signature was dotted with a D-A after it.
Yeah.
And the clerk that works for Roy Moore, now remember, this lady got a divorce decree, which would have had Judge Roy Moore's name on it and probably his signature. And when the DA is assigned to it, that means that the clerk administered that act.
With a stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And her initials are DA.
DA, right. So if you're going to forge something, I guess in haste to get Roy in trouble, your sins will always find you out, won't they? Won't they? The only way we really know is to test the spirits, and that process will test itself. Test ourselves, actually.
Her stepson did a...
Yeah, her stepson did a YouTube video. This is of the lady that is accusing Roy Moore of sexually molesting her when she was 16. Her stepson is speaking on behalf of Roy Moore and is saying that his stepmom is lying. He doesn't know why. He feels bad about it. And it was tough to do that YouTube, I'm sure. But good for him that he stood up and did it.
Donald Paxson says that the ink should be faded if it's 40 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's not.
You've got Glenn Beck. You've got Sean Hannity. Glenn has just been horrible on this issue. Just horrible.
Well, he was horrible with Trump, too.
Yeah, true. And I don't understand where Glenn's coming from and why he's doing it.
He's a Mormon. Sorry.
Is that in part of the Mormon book that you have to do that?
Well, just his attitude.
Yeah. God attitude. Man becoming a God attitude.
I think he was a Romney fan.
Yeah. Okay. And you're right. I knew of very few people that were carrying their yearbook around with them, especially at 16. There's other things I would be carrying around with me at 16. It wouldn't be a yearbook. My goodness. I wonder if the pages have even yellowed on that. Excuse me. Lot of questions about that. There's also rumors about robocalls trying to find people that had something on Roy Moore. And you get on the internet and people are just making the assumption that he's guilty. And I said before, if that was there is a pastor that I like, sort of, kind of. I respect him. I think he's a good pastor. I think he's a good man. I think he's in Christ. But he has a radio program. And he just will not defend Roy Moore. I mean, I'd be on it. If this pastor, if somebody accused this pastor, that's a radio pastor, of doing half of what Roy Moore did, or twice as much as Roy Moore did, I'd be defending him to the hilt. Now, I'm not a crazy fan of his. I respect him. I think he's a good man. I think he's a good Christian man. And if I heard accusations like this, I'd be going wild. And anybody I talk to, look out. If it was my son, same rules apply. And if you're a Christian, Roy Moore isn't your son, but he is your brother. Is that how you treat a brother? Doesn't the Bible talk something about treating the least of these? Is that how you would treat... Come on, the Bible says it. Is that how you would treat Jesus? Whoa, BJ, whoa. No, seriously. The Bible says how you treat the least of these is how you would treat Jesus. Roy Moore is a brother. And we are not giving him the benefit of the doubt. We're all over him. Be it Sean. Russia's been pretty good about it. The president has been quiet, although his daughter spoke. And you can say, well, the president didn't say anything. No, he didn't say anything. But his child spoke. Publicly. And as with the church, if there's no resistance, what is that? How's that saying go, Mr. Anderson? I can't. I got it up on the wall here somewhere. Where's that at?
As the church goes?
No.
That, okay.
To do nothing. We got a caller coming in. 614-423-4220. Go ahead and bring him on, Mr. Anderson.
He's on.
You're on the air live with BJ. Who am I speaking with?
Biker Bill.
Hey, Biker Bill. How you doing today, brother?
You kept poking my hot button, so I called.
Well, good. I wish some other folks would have the gumption to do so.
I'm going on the record, and anybody can write it down. This is Biker Bill again, and all this nonsense with Roy Moore. Any Christian any thinking human being that can't see that this is a complete fabrication right out of the Rules for Radicals Democratic playbook. We talked earlier in the week. The whole thing infuriates me, and I'm not related to Roy Moore.
But you are. You are, Bill.
Yeah,
you are related to him.
You're right. I am. He is my brother, and this makes me mad enough. I'd fist fight somebody in a heartbeat over this.
Not very Christian, Bill. Not very Christian.
Yeah, well, I'd say I'm sorry when I was done.
How about this? You would defend his honor with your entire body.
And I am trying to do so right now.
Yes, sir. And it's appreciated. First I got curious. I was stunned. I mean, I was absolutely stunned when I started getting some of the reactions from people. What? Really?
Well, they don't tell me. I don't know why.
Well, it may be because of your public statements. About physics.
No, actually.
About you wanting to inflict...
I'm very shy and withdrawn.
Yeah. What really encouraged me is, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, when all of those folks from across the nation, Flip Benham, etc., stood with Roy Moore by his side and spoke on his behalf.
I pray God sees him elected. Then I dare the swamp to try to not seat him. because that's what they're going to try to do, and that's who is going to try to do it, because they don't want Roy Moore looking over their shoulder. Now, I'm not from Alabama. I'm from Michigan. I don't have a dog in this fight other than that is my brother, and he's been a Christian for how long? Anybody that knows, that keeps up with any of this stuff, knows Roy Moore has stood his ground on any Christian issue that has come down the pike all the way through the line. He did not do this. He is not guilty. This is all a complete fabrication.
Well, it's. I didn't get to it, but when we get into the next hour, I'm going to tell you, Bill, why it might be a good idea if he is guilty. Not, but I didn't say he was.
Yeah, come down there, boy.
I did.
Says the man up north.
I didn't say he was guilty.
I hear a Harley in your driveway.
I just cackling back there. He's got that cranked
there's
up.
a whole bunch more on the way.
Now, do you have an electric starter on that Harley? Huh?
Nope.
All right, then
Nope.
you're a real man. You're a real man.
I got a strong right leg.
Well, that's from kicking in the Harley, But we are going to get it. We are going to get that in the next hour. But I was really encouraged by the people that were down there. And then the next day, his wife and a group of ladies got together. Of course, the news media had to say, "Well, Roy was hiding in the background. He didn't want anybody to see him." Fox News said words to that effect.
Oh, Fox News has been really.
Yeah.
I'm just stunned by these people. Well, not really, because they're not Christians. They're not the ones making me so mad. It's the Christian people that are not. Well, I don't know. That's a judgment that I can't make yet because the election hasn't happened. But I'm hoping that my people have enough sense to see this for what it is. Because they don't. They're stupid.
Well, Satan is very good. I mean, the guy's got at least 6,000 or 7,000 years on us, and if there's any weaknesses there, and we've been
put
go
a
ahead.
few over on me. I just said he's put a few over on me.
Yeah, I got you. There's one or two that he's got me with. Bill, I love you. I appreciate you, and I hope you don't have to come down here and whoop up on me after I give
well,
give my explanation.
Talking about my brother.
What? why it would be a good thing. That one. Yeah.
You just kept poking the bear. I kept listening
Good. Look, we got to take a break. I love you, brother. Hang in there. Keep swinging, and you other folks out there that aren't swinging, that aren't offended by this. I don't care whether he did it or not. The fact that you're not offended, and the fact that you don't trust him, I'm not going to say shame on you, but shame on you.
Well, 2 or 3 of you can take, you can relax, because I'm offended for 3 people, so.
Appreciate that.
When we come back,
I'm with you, Bill. I'm with you.
Yeah, I am. Boy, I am. I can't even say on Christian radio how much.
This is B.J. Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, WNFFradio.com, your last call. Biker Bill, I love you. Thanks for calling in. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about...
Love you back.
We're going to talk about... Thank you. We're going to talk about what is the best thing for society to do if Roy Moore is guilty.
Hey, good morning, folks. Coach Dave here. Just been putting off making this video as long as I could. I don't know why I just did.
It's our friend, Coach Dave Dobmeyer.
Listen, listen, I'm going to be very, very honest here. Okay, this is going out to my Christian friends. Okay, I don't care what Judge Moore did 40 years ago. Okay, as far as I know, he didn't commit any crime. What he did at age 32 doesn't really have a whole lot to do with a life led of exemplary Christian behavior. Christian leadership. Let me call time out here a second. I don't know about you. Do you have any idea what I was like 40 years ago? Do you have any idea some of the dastardly things that I did 40 years ago? Do you know that I'm an unconvicted felon? What does that mean? I did a lot of things I got away with 40 years ago. But I got born again back in 1987, and it radically transformed me. It did for me what a phone booth did for Clark Kent. We believe in grace. Christians believe in grace. We believe it's under the blood. And folks, we look at what Judge Roy Moore did 40 years ago, and Christians are the ones today throwing the greatest stones at him. He committed no crime. He was charged with nothing, and he's lived an exemplary Christian life for at least 30 years. What would you do if they went back into your life and dug up stuff 30 years ago? Don't we understand grace? Don't we understand redemption? Don't you as a Christian owe Judge Roy Moore the same grace and forgiveness that Christ afforded you? My goodness, what an opportunity for Christians to wake up and explain to the world what grace, redemption, and the death of Jesus Christ is all about. I don't care what Judge Moore did 40 years ago. I believe he's a born-again, forgiven, godly man, and I stand with Judge Roy Moore today. Stand up and be counted. I'm a supporter of Judge Roy Moore. God bless you.
That was our friend, Coach Dave Dobmeyer, who, by the way, has a morning show, CoachDaveLive.com. You can get it, and I'd recommend. It's going to challenge you. And it's a little bit like, it's a little rough. But maybe that's what we need this day and age. Bold. There's all different kinds of ways of being bold. And Coach exemplifies one, and he's a coach, so he's gonna push you like coaches normally do. Bill Miller, thank you. Matthew Mann, welcome aboard. Joseph, welcome aboard. Appreciate all of you listening today, to guys, and gals. It's really appreciated. Roy Moore is guilty. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, I was just laughing at Biker Bill again. He's talking about wanting to be a outlaw biker back in the 40 years ago. And Flo chimes in, and I can't read it now. I'm sorry. It keeps flipping on me.
Okay. Roy Moore is guilty. What's the best thing for society to do?
Forget about it.
Here's the deal. I met Roy Moore and have seen his body of work over the past 2 decades. I've heard about it for 3 or 4. And I know that he's a man that is not now, nor will he ever, be part of the Washington swamp. As a creature in a Washington swamp, he'll never be there. However, you want to rationalize unproven accusations, the people of Alabama must elect this statesman. And yes, this is correct. Roy Moore is a statesman of the highest order, and that is other than his Christianity, that is the next biggest thing that our congressmen and senators fear, and that is his statesmanship. We're not used to seeing that in Washington, D.C. at all. We see a lot of salesmen. We see a lot of marketing. We see a lot of schmoozing. Don't see a lot of statesmen.
Just the statues.
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Anderson said, just the statutes. Our prison system, they're rumored to be designed for what? Rehabilitation, right?
Yeah, rehab.
Yeah,
rehab programs.
At least that is the idea, the proposal that I've heard for years.
The ultimate goal is to get them back on the right track.
That's what we're told. Despite the fact that most of its former residents' prison want to return for more therapy. Okay, in spite of that fact. Well, let's assume that Roy Moore is guilty as charged by his accuser. And if he had been incarcerated 40 years ago, where would he be today?
Right where he is now, probably.
I doubt it. What kind of a man would he be?
Trained in prison.
Would he be a better man than he is today? There's no way. They're not going to let him be a judge if he has a prison record, Mr. Anderson.
Well, that's true.
So, not likely. He's not likely to be a better man than he is today. At least in terms of he could still be a good man in the sight of God. But in terms of his use and productivity in society, especially for us and in this time, not even close. Would he have been rehabilitated to the point that he is today a man that serves his Creator without regard to personal harm? Yeah, maybe. Well, I'll have to say yes. He has proven that he has principle. He wouldn't have had a chance to do that in prison on a public scale. And this is regardless of his past or supposed past. I'm saying that we're looking at a rehabilitated man. Okay. But, BJ, 40 years ago, that still happened. You know, we talk a lot about illegal aliens that have broken the law, but because they are what? Productive in society? We what? Look the other way, don't we? Nothing to see here. And we forgive them, right? What have they done to recompense for breaking the law of the United States? What have they done? Have they done any prison time? Nope. Were they deported? Nope. No punishment whatsoever. Yet, we see them as a productive part of society, right? And we invite them in. Now, we're talking apples and oranges here, right? Come on, you know what Roy Moore did? Well, how about this? We know that a certain number of followers of Islam will rape, kill, or murder U.S. citizens, and that the Gang of 13 will do the same or worse yet. That's right. They're given a place at the American table. Not our prison system, but at the table. And God help you if you have a problem with that, right? Well, some of them might kill, and some of them might murder, and some of them might rape, but come on, I read a story to you last week.
Yeah, that M&M thing.
5-year-old sexual penetration. 5 years old. I'm sure he'll be rehabilitated. Bill Clinton may have raped and sexually abused women. Ted Kennedy, we know, was responsible for the death of a young lady. And what do? We not only extol them as leaders, but make them folk heroes. I think Bill Clinton was accused of being the first black president. And we keep re-electing them. And put them up as what? Good examples of American society. Are you listening? Do you understand what we're doing here? Is American schizo, Mr. Anderson?
We're closing our eyes to sin and exhorting that, well, people that hold a higher standard, you know, I guess people are afraid of that standard and they want to bring it down to their own level.
That's very true. It's easier to pull somebody down than it is to pull yourself up. It is easier to do that. I agree with that. I'm sorry. It seems to be easier. After you live it through life, you find out that it's not it's not the easy way. But you find that out often too late. I'm just trying to put things in perspective. Think about Roy Moore. Look, he's a statesman. Very few men out there can hold a candle to him. And very few men have the guts and resolve this guy's got. He put his career, his family, probably his life on the line. I'm sure he's gotten death threats.
Yeah, I wonder about that. You know, with the senator that just got beat up in his own yard, I'm like, they don't have security in their... Some of these guys are out there, and it seems like you need bodyguards wherever you go now, whatever position you're holding, whether you're the mayor of a town or a senator or congressman, I don't know, House of Representatives, whatever your level is in government, you know, your opinions, people are so hateful now. Your next door neighbor comes over and breaks your ribs. I don't know. I wonder about Roy Moore and his safety and his family. How deep does that go?
Oh, I imagine it goes fairly deep. You're threatening. You're threatening their livelihood. They're working 2-3 days a week. And they get more vacation than teachers. And the more they don't do, the better off they are. Because if you do something, you might do something wrong. If you do something wrong, you're not going to get reelected. And the idea is to get elected and then to get reelected. And that's what they keep doing. They're very good at their job because their job is to get elected and get reelected. That's their job.
I just want to say, if they do something wrong, it might be right on the one side, wrong on the other. It just depends who gets mad about it.
And unlike the Republican Party, they don't eat their own. I'm talking about the deep staters. I kind of hinted about this earlier, or might even mention it earlier, but let me put things in perspective or re-put them in perspective. By the way, the call-in number is 614-423-4220. I'll send you some cough lozenges if your throat is sore and you can't speak. You've already heard about the Democratic Senator Al Franken. And then there's the recently released information regarding sexual assault cases involving members of Congress, for which Mr. Anderson played the tape. $15 million in taxpayer dollars has been spent on settlements since 1997, sexual harassment. Representative Jackie Spear, who you heard on the tape, disclosed in House testimony that the Office of Compliance had paid out settlements to over 200 cases against lawmakers since 1997 for all claims in the office covered for racial and religious discrimination. Oh, yeah, really, I'll bet. And sexual, wouldn't be Christianity, okay? And sexual, it'd be an oddball if it was, and sexual harassment. $15 million. And now it seems there'd be a sudden acknowledgement that Bill Clinton might have taken advantage of women, like his fellow Democrat Ted Kennedy. I'll tell you what, I'll finish this after the break. This is B.J. Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call, WNFFradio.com, 614-423-4220. That's our call-in number. And what that means is that 614-423-4220, if you dial that number, you can actually get in and talk to BJ.
Argue with him a little.
Oh, I love to argue. That's me.
Stay tuned for Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Good, hit it. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call, WTVOradio.com. What a world we live in, huh? Whew. And I mentioned there seems to be a sudden acknowledgement that Bill Clinton might have taken advantage of women like his fellow Democrat Ted Kennedy. And what were we told? That's right. Nothing to see here. Trailer park trash. Misunderstanding. Oversight. Ted Kennedy went home, passed out, and then the next morning, hangover notwithstanding, he seemingly had a flashback and told an associate that he should probably do something about what happened last night. His female companion having now a lung full of water. And he was called the Lion of the Senate. L-I-O-N. Not L-Y-I-N-G.
Which was more fitting.
Again, nothing to see here. These are good people. How dare you question their character? Racist, xenophobe, molester. Now, when it comes to Roy Moore, there are unproven accusations from several sources which have been appearing in a timely and what might be considered coordinated manner. Timely in that, why did witness number one wait close to 4 decades and then 30 days before a Senate election, a critical Senate election? Come on, folks. You have to admit that this is really fishy, curious, if not suspicious. Come on. And the tardiness of reply has not only harmed Roy Moore, but just as well, and this is important, the citizens of Alabama. Think of what she's put them through. Should be yelling and screaming at her, right, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah. I'm off. There I am.
Yeah. If he's really that bad of a man, why didn't she speak up when he was judging for decades, making determinations on people's lives? Why didn't she speak up? Why now? You have to ask that question. You have to. I'm sorry, folks. This all smells to high heaven. Secondly, the most recent and hottest charge, which includes a yearbook signature, must be examined by objective handwriting experts in order to prove that it was indeed Roy Moore's writing and that it is accurate. And I repeat, an objective examination, not like what we got going on with the Russian investigation. And even without the examination of the book, there are some curious anomalies regarding the message itself and the DA's signature, which we had mentioned earlier. And I also mentioned the stepson of the accuser being a Roy Moore supporter. And this was not only on YouTube, but I think USA Today had the story on it all. I'd say WorldNet Daily, but people like to discredit that, so USA Today.
I think it first came out on a Facebook Live thing he did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as witnesses go, 28 witnesses.
Huh?
Yeah. That's what they say.
28 witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
What did they witness?
Yeah. It's always a touchy thing. There's a reason that good lawyers make great money. They can use power of suggestion to make you see things that you didn't see before or hold things back that you need to see. Personally, I was on a jury recently with 8 other jurors, and we all saw a picture from the police car of the defendant, and were told by the prosecutor to look for. Didn't tell us objectively. The prosecutor, the judge, told us to look for something. What did he tell us to look for? signs of inebriation. Now, they gave this guy a test breathalyzer, and he wasn't drunk, but they sensed that he was on drugs. They found some drug paraphernalia in his car, so they sensed that he was drugged and drunk. Made that assumptive. Now, they didn't take a blood test, and I don't know why they didn't take a blood test. And they didn't get an admission from him, so they had to go to the jurors. Again, we were told to look for this. And that in the picture, and if you saw it, then it meant the driver was drunk or high. So they told you what to look for. These are signs. I want you to think about what's happening here. They've already seen the tape. They know what this individual is going to do. So they're telling us, well, if you see this and you see that, well, duh. It's on the tape, for crying out loud. They've already seen it. If you see that, then, yeah, he was inebriated. It was really interesting to see what most of the jury believed and how they believed what they saw with their own eyes, but they were really looking through the eyes of the prosecutor. As an ex-Jack Daniels user, heavy user, and one who has seen a drunk or two in my time, I was absolutely amazed at the dexterity of this inhibited driver. If he wasn't inebriated, it sure didn't look like that to me. There are also those, and I'm talking about witnesses, that want the limelight. Get their name in the paper. Be important, regardless of the harm it may cause. We now hear that all the supposed victims are related in one way or another, and I'm going to say probably the witnesses as well, to the, what do you think they'd be related to, Mr. Anderson?
I'm sorry, I was...
That's all right. Democratic Party.
Preoccupied here.
Democrat, you're working. Shame on you. One way or the other to the Democratic Party. Depending upon your worldview, you will see what you want to see and hear what you want to hear. You know, it's interesting. Again, Al Franken admits that he's guilty, and yet the Senate is now deciding to have a meeting to see if he's guilty. On the other hand, Roy Moore says he's innocent, and those same senators assumed, I'm glad they're not on the jury, he's guilty. Or maybe it doesn't make any difference. No hearing required. Judge Roy Moore is guilty. I would like to think that if my son or my brother or my wife or my friend Mr. Anderson was accused of wrongdoing and tells me that they're innocent, I like to believe that I would fight for them and believe for them, and I would be objective. Going in, I'm going to be subjective because I know them and I know they're innocent, but I have to look at it objectively. But in the United States of America, when you look at things objectively, that means that you're innocent until proven guilty. Al Franken, innocent. Judge Roy Moore, guilty as charged, sir. Don't even bother with the jury. We got it all figured out for you, and we've got his sentence established. I was in the courtroom with Ken Hovind. I've seen this in action. There's certain information, and we mentioned the Bundys earlier, that oftentimes is suppressed in cases. Information that I think for the most part, and I've never been an attorney or a judge, but I think for the most part, or a prosecuting attorney, that information favors the state, favors the prosecuting attorney. The last figures I saw was something like 95 or 96% of all federal cases are won by the feds. Now, baseball players are good if they're at 500% or better, right? Or even 400, or even 300. But 100, 90, 90, 900, 900%? 950%? 960%? That's pretty good, isn't it? We must have a great education system and just a sterling training program for our district attorneys. Yeah, you can get a lawyer. You can get a lawyer appointed by the judge. But they ain't going to help you. They're out of their league. It's like your high school football team playing your middle school team. If you get that lawyer. This is so sad. This is so sad. You can buy justice in America, that's right. We'll get the rich. It's not just the rich. It's the system that stinks. And that's what's got to be changed. And we're not going to change it if we don't know the difference between right and wrong. How can you tell the difference between right and wrong? Like the spirits I mentioned earlier, you have to test the law. My strongest move to Christianity was when I tried to attack the Bible and prove it wrong. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Like I said, Mr. Anderson, I like to argue. So I argued with God. Well, I'm here today as a witness.
You lost.
Yeah, I lost that fight. Big time.
Praise the Lord.
But you learn, and I would encourage you to, if you're a liberal and you're listening to this show, try to attack the truth, what we call objectivity. You can start with me, with the family. Yeah. Tell me how wonderful it's going to be for a child to be brought up in a family with 2 mommies or 2 daddies, or with 15 sets of mommies and daddies, or the single-parent mom. Again, history shows us, but more importantly, today's sociologists write about it all the time. It's tragic what happens to a lot of our kids. I almost said most. I probably would have been more right with most than a lot. We speak about the natural family, and we know that when we talk about it, that 95% of the people we talk with, and I'm one of them, aren't in or don't come from a natural family. And I'm still looking for the family information on the fellow that shot up the church. For some reason, that information will not come out. If you've got it, please get it to me. You can go to our website, www.naturalfamilyfoundation.org. You can reach me there. You can go on BJ's website, or actually BJ's Facebook page, BJ Edwards. Friend me first, and then ask the questions, or try to get the information, or give me the information. Amoral society, no right, no wrong. I'm going to talk a little bit about rumors when we come back. This is for my Christian friends who are doubting Roy Moore. B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, last call. And by the way, my money is on Roy Moore.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with BJ Edwards on WTVOradio.com.
ready to play it. Go ahead and play it. Let me. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call, WTVOradio.com. I'd mentioned some folks that were down supporting Judge Roy Moore in Montgomery this week. A good friend of us, Elizabeth Johnston, the activist mommy, was there. And she's got a little bit to say about it. And Mr. Anderson, if you would, please.
Well, you got me on a different channel here.
Okay.
Here we go. This is about 4 minutes.
Okay. Go for it.
Judge Roy Moore. Elizabeth? I am Elizabeth, and I'm the mother of 10 children, and I represent families across America who are gravely concerned about the moral plunge our nation has taken, and who want to leave a better future for our children and our grandchildren. I met Roy Moore 15 years ago during a rally during his courageous fight to keep the Ten Commandments monument in the Alabama Judicial Building. I loved hearing him speak and quote from memory our founding fathers. It was clear Judge Moore loved our country. When the judge came under attack last summer by an ethics commission on ludicrous charges organized by transgender activists, I drove my 10 children from Ohio to Alabama to hit the streets and campaign for a man who I deem to be a hero for families, life, liberty, and the Constitution. I did not want my children to miss this opportunity to watch this honorable judge and patriot stand courageously while being unjustly lynched by ideological enemies. Thankfully, Roy Moore lives in the great state of Alabama, because Alabamians smell a rat. They know the Republican rhinos like Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who have betrayed the party's principles, wasted $30 million to keep Judge Moore from winning. Alabamians know their favorite judge has been ousted more than once because he is not a yes man and will always stay true to his principles. That's why I admire him. The voters here, unlike the career politicians in Washington, know how to discern between facts and fake news. Facts should matter more than feelings and suspicions. And facts appear to show us that Roy Moore is being framed. The yearbook signature was clearly forged. It's very dirty politics at the highest levels. Mr. Moore's opponent, Doug Jones, stands for the destruction of human life through abortion and the destruction of the natural family. That is the outrage and real story the press should be covering today. Judge Moore and his wife Kayla are suffering greatly, and their enemies could care less. A lesser man or woman would have already bowed out of this race and cut and run. But Mr. Moore and Kayla continue to take these painful punches to fight for our freedom, for our children, and for an end to political corruption. I will not distance myself from them or abandon them, as many Republican lapdogs have been so quick to do, unless evidence demands it. So far, the evidence is not there. Anyone can make an accusation. I will let facts form my conclusions. Sexual assault is indefensible. I am an advocate for victims of sexual abuse. If I thought for a second that these allegations were true, I'd be the first person in front of a microphone calling for Mr. Moore to step down. I have never known a political couple to be more inseparable and joined at the hip than Judge Moore and his wife Kayla. These two lovebirds are best friends. Judge Moore has an impeccable track record of 30 years of faithfulness to his wife and love for God and country. So as for me and my house, we will stand with Judge Roy Moore.
Elizabeth Johnston, 10 children, drove 12 hours to Alabama. I tried to get Elizabeth on the show this morning, but she's a little worn out, and I understand that. So playing the tape will work not as well. I love to talk to Elizabeth because she's just so grounded. like her and Farah and other folks that we get on the show. 10 hours, 12 hours she drove to Montgomery, Alabama.
With
10 kids. And I can't get one of you, I can get one of you to call in, 614-423-4220. One of you, just one of you to call in. I find that astounding. Am I really that bad, Mr. Anderson?
Well, no, I show up every Saturday to talk to you.
Yep.
You keep me too busy on other stuff here.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. Rumors are very dangerous, and they travel extremely fast. Christians are to have nothing to do with them. Are the accusations against Roy Moore rumors? What are they founded on? Do we have one deposition, one sworn statement from anybody? This means you're not to listen to them or spread them, entertain them, allow them to live. Because if they live, you'll eventually die. If you're a Christian especially. Have you ever started a sentence by saying, I heard he or I heard she? Boy, you're getting a lot of that these days, aren't we?
Oh, we are.
If by chance we do hear a rumor, we're not to entertain it. It should stop at our ears. A lot of times rumors being spread are not even true and are brought on by an envious, slandering fool or a political opponent or a deep state. Some people spread rumors to start a conversation because they have nothing to say. Rumors are the language of cowards. These days, people want to hear about the juiciest gossip stories. And this should not be. It doesn't have to be in person or on the phone anymore. People spread gossip through TV, websites, social media, magazines. It might seem harmless, but they're not. You got to flee from them and don't engage in them. Words are very powerful. Can you imagine how much damage the rumor about George Roy Moore has done in the Christian community? You know, there's a lot of folks that are never Trumpers. Are we finding the same kind of dividing lines with regards to what's happening to Judge Roy Moore? Well, I believe it. I believe it. Those women wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. Really? This is the first time in the history of mankind that there's a possibility that they couldn't be true? Come on, folks. Get real, but especially Christians. You're supposed to be able to think, but you're also supposed to be able to discern. Or discern, however you want to say that. That Holy Spirit that you got inside of you, don't upset it. Don't make it feel uncomfortable. Don't make it feel like it's not being used. That's what it's there for your guidance, for your spiritual guidance. Really? Really? With Judge Roy Moore's background and history, really? Is it the sensationalism of it? It's just because you're used to being lied to. And you can't tell the difference between a lie and the truth. And there's some truth to that. Words are powerful. Scripture says that you'll be condemned by your words. Oops.
What comes out of the mouth?
Rumors are a big reason why churches are being destroyed and being filled with drama. I'd say a lot of that's entertainment drama. Even if someone was to spread a rumor or a lie about you, even though it can hurt, don't repay evil for evil. A lot of time rumors spread because of meddling and personal differences. Kevin's been spending a lot of time with Heather lately. I bet they're going to be doing more than just hanging out.
I don't even know her.
Did I just hear you say that you think Amanda is having an affair? Rumors, and this is a quote, are as dumb as the people who started them and as fake as the people who spread them. Rumors are carried by haters and spread by fools and accepted by idiots. Why do you listen when men say David is bent on harming you? Whoever practices evil pays attention to wicked speech, and the liar listens to malicious talk. The mouth of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart. You must not go around spreading false stories against other people. Don't do anything that would put your neighbor's life in danger. I am the Lord, and I've been reading Bible scriptures. Proverbs 20:19. Whoever spreads gossip betrays confidences, so don't get involved with someone who talks too much. Whoever derides their neighbor has no sense, but the one who has understanding holds their tongue. The ungodly purposely start rumors. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malicious. They are gossips. That's the Bible, folks. Treat others as you would want them, as you would want to be treated. I'm going to keep this handy for you and remind you of rumors and how dastardly they can be and how damaging they can be. Earlier on in the program, I talked about amoral society and about where we are in place and time in America. This is B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call. WNFF.org. When we come back, we're going to talk about our society and memorials and get a good look at ourselves.
I have to help you out there. It's WNFFradio.com.
Oh, sorry about that. WNF Radio. WNFFradio.com.
We're having fun. Yeah, I was just telling the guys, yeah, we're making changes here and we're trying to keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah, gotcha. Trick James, yes. There is a strong connection between this show and the Texas Salt and Light Brigade. Coach and I have been friends for going on 20 years now. Helped start an organization together and work closely together. I mentioned I was down in Florida, and I was down there with Coach. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson. I'm sorry, I was getting yacky.
I'm fine. It's your job. It's your radio show. I'm just here backing it up. Sorry. That was my fault I didn't play.
Didn't? Okay. I can't get it.
Words.
Well, more of me. You get more of me because of that.
This is live radio,
yeah,
folks.
Oh, it sure is. It sure is. And TV. It sure is.
Yeah. And we're alive.
Why don't you get that one clip up for us? And I want to remind folks that our main drive is the natural family. And the natural family is one man, one woman, and a lifelong committed monogamous relationship with their biological and or adopted children. That's the key. That's the cornerstone. That's the foundation of any society that wants to exist for any kind of a time period. Once you get rid of that, once you forget about it, once you try to change the structure of it, which we're trying to do now, there's a price to be paid. For every action, there's a reaction. And I often refer to Rome. I'm going to have to get some of those quotes from Roman sages. Families are the glue that holds all societies together. Nations that ignore families and alter their natural structure, form, and purpose are doomed to destruction. Rome and other nations altered the natural family, and they no longer exist. The USA is headed the way of Rome. We're basically going back to the future. And we're driving a sexual train doing it. Whew, an amoral train.
Oh, my goodness.
Why don't you go ahead and play that tape, Mr. Anderson?
Hello, my name's Giselle. I'm 19 years old. I live in the United States. I'm a part-time model as well as a part-time student. I want to sell my virginity at Cinderella Escorts because I want to be able to pay for my school and go traveling in the future. I think I should be able to do what I want with my body because it's my choice and I feel comfortable with my decision. I want more opportunities to arise for me by doing this, and hopefully good things will come in the future.
She's definitely going to get more opportunities, but they may not necessarily be what she thinks they're going to be. I see a porn star of the future, Mr. Anderson. Sex for money. We call that the oldest profession. I want you to draw from this is, let's talk in terms of Judge Roy Moore. He's being persecuted for an accused, rumored act, sex act, with a child of 14 when he was 30. Like that was wrong. What's wrong with sex? Isn't that what this young lady is saying? If you can use it for money, and if it's going to enrich your life, why then by all means, go ahead and use sex. We have same-sex marriage.
That's not marriage, but...
We have transgenders that don't know their sex. You understand how convoluted all this is?
I don't know what I was born with.
How confusing. Hello. It can be discouraging. And a lot of fear out there. This is a 19-year-old, the tape, this is a 19-year-old student model. 19 years old. What if it was a 16-year-old? Yeah.
Where are her parents? Where are they on that?
Mr. Anderson, you're anticipating the count because that's the next question. Where is her father? Where is this girl's father?
Maybe he's looking at the money too.
I would like, well, he's sick and he has to have an operation, so I'm going to have to sell my body to do it.
I've seen some of those on the, research for this one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that reason?
Reason, yeah. Some of them were there's somebody in the family sick, and they were going to sell their virginity to help a sick mom or brother. Oh, I don't know. I do know. It's all wrong.
Yeah.
It's sad. And I question the men that would pay that. What is their need? What is it a trophy on the wall to them? I don't get it. Mental illness, says Donald Paxton.
Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what you shall put on. Is not the life more than the meat? Is not the life more than the meat, and the body than raiment? Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in lust thereof. What know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? Growing up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we were strong exponents of, if it feels good, do it. That we really don't need moral laws. That that multiple sexual relations were okay. Probably good for you. It's good to practice, right? Yeah, it's good to. Well, yeah. Sign me up, coach. I want to go in for a practice today. You know what we do when we're young. For every action, there's a reaction. And ignorance, sadly, is no excuse. The truth's always been there. And I know in my case, I knew it was there. But it was really convenient to kind of look the other way. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like when we see women now, we have to look the other way. And life doesn't forget those experiences that you've had. For every action, there is a reaction. And there is a price ultimately to be paid. And there's an instrument out there called the Bible that is a template that we need to be using. Now, sadly, a lot of the young people in our world are using the schools to help establish their templates. Life has no meaning, right? Life has no meaning. Morals are relative, multiculturalism, diversity. Man, you are the measure of all things. Don't worry about God. There is none. You're a cosmic accident. Don't let it bother you. There is no God. And the state, socialism, is your daddy. And that's no more than men trying to collect power. And it happened from the origination of man, from Adam and Eve on. Families are little power generating units. And once that unit starts expanding itself, then it becomes larger and the power becomes more powerful and can make more decisions. And as it grows from tens to hundreds to thousands, then that power becomes more attractive to people that are addicted to it. Maybe you know one, or maybe you know several, or maybe you've heard about maybe it's the Illuminati, or anything else that's going around. And there is a tendency for people to want to collect that power. That's what the government is doing. That's what our founders were afraid of. That's why they made the Constitution. The Constitution was designed to limit power. Jake McCauley was in town, and we talked a little bit about the Institute on the Constitution. Jake's the CEO. And we talked about the Constitution and its base and why it was necessary. You can't have anarchy. Because pretty soon you're not going to have any power centers at all. They're all going to have blown up themselves. You have to have restrictions. You have to have rules. And the more objective and the more timely the rules are, the better your nation's going to be. And that's what the Constitution was all about. They knew the power of the federal government. They feared the power of the judicial system greatly because they knew that was an unelected branch. There's no strings attached. And why in God's name they ever made that a lifetime job, I'll never know if they were that afraid of it. Just fascinates me that they would do that. But again, power is destructive when it's concentrated in an oligarchy or a dictatorship or a king. And we have to do something to restrict that so we won't be hurt by those that serve us. And we're really being hurt by those that serve us. I think of Christians that have businesses that are no longer businesses. I think of others that have spent time in jail. What, Mr. Anderson?
Well, I just look at this situation with Roy Moore again, and
Yep.
and talking about power, and here's Alabama that says this is the guy we choose for Senate. We have a right as a state. This is the people speaking to send this man. Why are you people in Washington interfering with our business?
Yep.
They don't have that right, in my opinion. They should just keep their mouths shut and let Alabama send who they vote and desire to have represent them in D.C. Every state has that right. And it's, you know.
By the way, if you ever, and I would recommend a course on the Constitution, because one of the things you're going to find out is that there is no federal government, or there should be no federal government without the states, because the states have the power. The federal government has no power but which the states give them. But now this has been flipped upside down, and the child is now ruling the parent. The federal government is ruling the states and telling the states what to do, and their power comes from the states.
And you know what? That's true throughout our culture now. The child is ruling the parents.
Yep.
Even in the households.
It all makes sense. You have to bring it into focus. And that's why we show up every Saturday, to try to help you bring this into focus.
And,
Very
plead with you to help us.
Yep.
Because it's what? An opinion war? And if we don't change the opinions with our friends and family, that's what we encourage everyone to get educated and try to do, right? Isn't that why we're here?
Today's opinions make tomorrow's laws, and tomorrow's laws make morals. So where are we morally? And it's because of opinions. Christ was crucified by public opinion. The folks had a choice. Barabbas or Jesus. I think I read somewhere where Barabbas' name was Jesus.
Huh?
I think we're in the money, the happy hooker. Thank you, Matthew. That's cute. That's cute. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today or to watch us today. And I hope that we have touched something in you that will motivate you to at least stop the rumors. And maybe you are hesitating on Roy Moore. It's
not me.
You're not going to hurt yourself by hesitating on him, even if he did what he did, because you're not listening to rumors. There's no truth. There's no verification to any of the accusations we're hearing today.
And even the things that I've read that they say he did, they're just not that horrible.
Yep, they aren't. He asked me out on a date. We got to run, Mr. Anderson.
He asked me on a date, right?
Yep. But again, I appreciate you listening in. Have a great weekend. Go Bucks.
Really? Okay. It's your show. I'll let you root for him.
Your co-host.
Join us Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern for Last Call with BJ Edwards on WTVOradio.com. Oh, I was nothing big.